specific video subject is Fukushima and the assertion that everything in the ocean is dying, etc., etc., etc. And people not just quote mining, but very strictly the actual definition for quote mining studies. A repost from 2015 that sourced, and that source lied. 2015, commenting on a project. There was a project to do something. And this was a comment someone posted, or a commentary that was done as part of a peer-reviewed process. The IAEA/RCA-TC project RAS 7021 with a slash in there somewhere. So you can figure out what that means. Marine benchmark study on the possible impacts of Fukushima radioactive releases in the Asia-Pacific region. Not measured, necessarily. We're just starting with the title. The accident at Fukushima released huge amounts of radioactive substances into the Pacific Ocean. Okay. These radionuclides will be transferred and dispersed over the Pacific Ocean during the next years. People have taken that part there. I'm reading these quotes from somewhere, by the way, and decided that means that it's deliberately done. Well, it's done for some evil, maniacal laughter-inducing scientist thing. That kind of thing. There are a number of different ocean dispersion models to predict the dispersion of pollutants over time. Now, one of the things I learned a long time ago is someone saying something over the top like huge amounts of radioactive substances might not be your source that you want to quote, but let's go on with it. Parts that are included and left out I'm going to put in here, and we're going to chug through this pile. And obviously I'm just going to leave a link to the work so you can decide what was really said and what people spun it as or censored. The simulated data should be compared with measurements in the Pacific Ocean. These aren't measurements. They're predictions based on the idea, it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong about it, of huge amounts of radioactive substances in the water. When was this dumped as an idea? Time and date stamp and who did it. And I'm going to tell you something neat about the project. Nobody did it. One or two of these, or all of them, I mean, it is kind of comical. These were proposals to do something with wording like, huge amounts of radioactive substances were in the Pacific Ocean, and other over-the-top hyperbole. Let's go out to the hyperbole and see if we can bowl a few frames. One or both of these, I'm sorry, but I actually kind of pointed and laughed, was actually not done. Because it was doing a model. I mean, there is a model simulation that came of it, but it wasn't really treated as a study because it didn't collect any damn data. It's the same thing as that prediction model of where all the radiation would go if it was several tons. That's nice. Huge. By the way, if anybody's watching at this point, you probably already know this. I have a horrible head cold, and it's just messing with me. It's been doing it for a week. Next, benchmark ocean models for the dispersion and radiological impact of radionuclides. No, radionuclides. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. From the Fukushima power plant. IAEA Coordinated Research Activities, 2014-2015. And now this is after this happened. A while afterwards. It wasn't a recent study, but also wasn't done immediately. And again, models. The predictions can be used for recommendations for Pacific member states to measure with regard to seafood consumption or export or import of marine food, and also provide valuable tools for other emergency situations resulting from marine pollution. Horse crap. What they do is they test the fish, which is something the industry doesn't want to do because it's an extra step. You sample test the fish. If none of the fish show any problems, you can sell it. Or you can do it the truther way and say, oh, here's a picture of a turtle from 5 years before Fukushima. That's proof. You test the material you're bringing in. You also test the water, which is what everybody did. You test the air right afterwards, which people did in the United States and everywhere else because they were paranoid about this. I know because I have a couple of relatives who did it, and they complained about how it was basically they were sitting around just waiting for something to go beep. And no, equipment wasn't shut off and there wasn't some cover-up. It was because the equipment failed or it wasn't there anymore. People stole the stuff sometimes. Come on. And even then, they still detected it making landfall very soon afterwards. And then detected actual radioactive material a couple of years ago. Well, actually, really just last year. Finally showed up, 2017. 1 or 2 molecules of crap. It's nothing to sneeze at, but no, the Pacific Ocean isn't literally dying. These nucleotides, I forgot, screw it, are being dispersed and transferred through the ocean, and numerous studies of these processes have been carried out. Computer modeling again. Redacted. That part was redacted, right? No, that was what was said. Here's the redacted part. Using three-dimensional hydrodynamic calculation models, dispersion models, and compartmental models on different space and time scales. That part was deliberately redacted from the fearmonger website that lied to you, because then you'd find out it was computer models. I looked up the actual study. You guys read the byline. I did better. To predict the behavior of these nucleotides and further on to estimate dose to biota and human populations. Again, this is a computer model. It's worthless. Test the water, test the food. That's what actually works. Predictions. Why are you using prediction models? Next, the redacted part. The objective of this CRP is to compare available ocean models, adapt operational models to the other models, work out connections to real-time data streams, assess member states in developmental expert systems for emergency preparedness. And then it says, Fukushima discharges will be used as a benchmark study for the Pacific Ocean. They redacted the part about it being 3D models and not measurements. There's no mention of anybody going out and doing water testing or food testing. It's let's make the and the idea is to make the models match. What you do is you make a 3D model. You make your prediction system by getting all the data and then forcing the model to work to fit it. Because we only have one example. This. Actually, no. You can dump tracer materials in the ocean that don't hurt anybody. They're just really unusual in water, but will float. And you can measure which way the ocean works. Or you can just use floating buoys, which is what we use, to find out where crap goes. You can also look for where the garbage and debris from the tsunami hitting went. That gives you a better timing. And when that showed up, you didn't get as much radiation material either. Computer simulations, video games, versus going out, get off your dead ass and test the water and food, which millions of people did to save you, the viewer, from having to go out and actually get away from the computer for 5 freaking minutes and learn something. Hell, I know one personally now. Forbid TV. He just went out and tested the stuff you guys won't. I don't see anybody who complains about Fukushima taking a real piece of equipment, a really calibrated one, and getting two or three different types like he did, and actually check to see if you're full of it. And then member states in the region are understandably concerned for the safety of their marine environments in 2011. That was the assertion, not 2015. That was a really old quote. And then later on they said, were, and the next sentence was, But after testing, we've realized that it simply isn't going to transfer as quickly, and it's being diluted by the ocean. Oh, let's leave that out. I judge people by what they do and say, not what they leave. No, I judge them by what they leave out. Marine benchmark study on the possible impacts of Fukushima radioactive releases in the Pacific region, made in 2011, not the current year or 2015 when this story was come up with. It said it is presumed that this radioactive contamination can be transported and circulated through the Pacific Ocean, not that this radioactive contamination can be transported and circulated through the Pacific Ocean. You leave out the part where it says it's assumed. Or specific wording they use, which I'm sorry, but my throat's fouled up. You can go back and double check me. I'm probably lying, right? Project RAS CMS can provide the basis for reliable and comparable data. The area potentially affected may encompass much of the Pacific Ocean, and it's 1/3 of the globe. Not that it will cover 1/3 of the surface area of all oceans. It's just talking about it possibly could do the entire Pacific Ocean, which would dilute it. But okay, not just the area potentially affected will be the Pacific Ocean, and it's 1/3. And then people just broke it down and said it's a third of the oceans. No, it's one ocean, the Pacific. Why are you cribbing this? Benchmarking ocean models for dispersion and radiological impact of radionuclides. I thought it was nucleotide. It's nuclides. Sorry. Released from nuclear power plants in emergency situation was never implemented. Much of this was never implemented, or not implemented under these names. So when you look it up later, it's under a different project that they won't cite. That start off with a name that says 3D modeling of potential impacts, comparing it to actual results, and how to correct your bad modeling. I should do a joke about runway models, but anyway. Pre-frickin' diction. So anyway, enenews, Energy News, enews, was created to fearmonger for anti-nuclear stuff, for Fukushima stuff. It's an aggregator, posting any case of animal death, disease, anything that occurs near or in the Pacific Ocean coastlines, and always blames it on Fukushima, and ignores anybody saying, we've tested and couldn't find anything. Both sides. Sad. All this is being covered up. Yeah, by the Fukushima people, because you keep editing out the part that doesn't jibe. And the reactors are seconds away from exploding, because if you don't tell people the world's going to come to an end tomorrow, they won't be able to. You won't get anything when you pass the plate. And every one of them has a gimme money thing. 2015 enenews releases threatening dead Pacific area 1/3 globe cover-up story, based on them lying about what 1/3 of it is, and leaving out the parts that say it's based on modeling and prediction, based on looking at the actual data and see how bad the models are and fixing them. This is about correcting our models of the ocean by taking advantage of the radioactive material. And also, some parts of it note, even though it's almost impossible to detect this material in a short period of time, it can be detected over a long period of time. If you sit there for weeks and weeks, you can detect a couple of molecules of the crap. But you have to use a mass spectrometer or something. International Atomic Energy Agency, Atoms for Peace and Development, see also. To review, I'm going to include every word that was used by the fearmongers in the title of the video. All of them are based on quote mining a bunch of studies that say this is 3D predictive modeling. These aren't results. And refusing to mention the years and times in some cases. That's the same thing that was done to you. Now that you're here, can you realize that one side lies and the other one actually would like to learn from this and maybe make sure it doesn't happen again? Or at least take advantage of the fact that the crap's in the ocean anyway. Let's use it to match our computer data to it and make sure the computer data is not wrong so we can use it later. And again, most of these projects weren't done because of over-the-top hyperbole, because they were non-scientific statements in some cases. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.